The world doesn't reward fairness. You can be honest and still get betrayed. You can become skilled and still watch someone less qualified take what should have been yours. That's not pessimism, that's reality. And the people who accept reality without crying about it, they survive. The ones who survive long enough, eventually, they rule. There's a kind of power you can't point at, you can't photograph it, but everyone feels it the moment you step into a room. That power is dark intelligence. Dark intelligence is born in moments most people can't handle: betrayal, humiliation, rejection, defeat. For them, pain is a dead end. For you, pain becomes raw material. They collapse, you calculate. They rant, you observe. They react, you evolve. This isn't the intelligence they teach in school. This is the intelligence you build when life forces you to see people clearly, without the fantasy, without the filter. It's the kind of intelligence that listens more than it speaks, watches more than it argues, and moves only when timing is on your side. While others waste energy proving points, you gather information. While they get emotional, you stay precise. While they drown in feelings, you quietly design the future. Most people are playing checkers. You're about to learn how to play chess. But before we go deeper, let me be crystal clear. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Use it to defend yourself, to read the room, to avoid traps, not to harm innocent people. The goal is to understand the game, not to become the villain inside it. Today, you'll learn 8 psychological traits that separate survivors from victims, leaders from followers, winners from people who keep almost winning. And before we start, drop this in the comments: I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally reactive. Now, let's unlock the things powerful people rarely say out loud. Calculated opacity. Dark intelligence starts with this: you are never fully transparent. You don't hand out your intentions like free samples. You reveal only what's necessary. Because when people know only half the story, they fill the other half with imagination. And imagination is a remote control. There's an old principle. People see what you appear to be. Very few experience what you truly are. That's not about being fake. That's about being smart. Think about the most intriguing people you've ever met. They don't over-explain. They leave gaps. They don't answer every question directly. Sometimes they respond with a question. Sometimes they smile when you expect a full explanation. This isn't lying. This is strategic communication. Most people get asked a question and feel obligated to empty their whole mind onto the table. Their motives, their fears, their plans. They think they're building trust, but what they're actually doing is giving away leverage. Mystery creates influence. When you don't reveal everything, people get curious. Curiosity becomes interest. Interest becomes respect. Respect becomes influence. Someone asks, "What are you doing this weekend?" Most people answer like a diary. Nothing much, staying home, maybe movies. Honest, but forgettable. Instead, you say, "I've got something important to handle." Then you move on. One makes you predictable. The other makes you noticeable. You don't have to be secretive about everything. You just become selective. what you share, when you share it, and with whom. Your information is currency. Stop spending it all at once. Number 2. Adaptive persona. You are not the same version of yourself with everyone. And that's not hypocrisy. That's intelligence. Different people have different values, different rhythms, different triggers. If you use the same approach with everyone, you'll connect with a few and fail with most. Adaptive persona means you adjust your delivery without losing your identity. You already do this naturally. You speak differently to family than you do to friends. You act differently in an interview than you do at a party. The difference is, now it becomes intentional. If someone is analytical, give them logic and structure. If they're emotional, connect to meaning and feeling. If they're practical, give steps and results. If they're visionary, paint the big picture. This isn't manipulation. This is communication skill. Think of water. It takes the shape of the container without changing what it is. That's the mindset. You can have many sides without being fake. The strongest people are like diamonds, different angles, same substance. Just remember the rule. Your values stay fixed. Only your presentation adapts. The principle of detachment. Here's a line most people hate. What you're afraid to lose will control you. Attachment makes people easy to manipulate. They fear losing their job, so they tolerate disrespect. They fear losing a relationship, so they abandon their standards. They fear losing approval, so they live like performers. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to be owned. Picture two people negotiating. One person needs the deal. The other person would like the deal, but has options. Who has power? The one who can walk away. Detachment gives you clarity. When you're not desperate to be right, you see truth faster. When you're not addicted to approval, you make better choices. When you're not terrified of being alone, you stop settling. The paradox is this: the less you need something, the more likely you are to get it. Not because the universe is magical, but because you stop negotiating from weakness. Practice detachment gradually. Stop needing to win every argument. Stop needing everyone to like you. Stop needing life to go exactly as planned. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is freedom. 4. Silent leverage. Most people think power is loud. They think it's dominance, demands, pressure, threats. That's beginner level. Real power whispers. Silent leverage is influence without force. It's the art of making your presence heavier than your words. In conversation, silence is a weapon if you can handle it. Most people panic when there's quiet, so they fill it with extra words. Those extra words usually reveal more than they planned. So next time someone asks you a difficult question, don't rush. Pause. Let the silence sit for a moment, then speak. Watch how your answer suddenly carries more weight. In negotiation, silent leverage is having options you don't even need to mention. You don't threaten to leave. Your willingness to leave is felt. In relationships, silent leverage is consistent value without begging for credit. You don't demand loyalty, you build it through behavior. In work, silent leverage is becoming the person people rely on, not because you announced it, but because you repeatedly prove it. Silent leverage requires patience. Most people want immediate results, but real influence is built like a reputation, quietly, over time. Here's the ethical line. Never use silent leverage to push people into harm. Use it to protect yourself, create better outcomes, and guide situations away from chaos. Silent leverage isn't passive, it's strategic motion without noise. 5. Psychological echo. This is where dark intelligence gets dangerous if you don't use it responsibly. Psychological echo means you reflect back what people truly want, fear, and need, not just what they say out loud. Most people don't listen. They wait for their turn to talk. You listen for patterns, the emotion behind the words, the insecurity behind the arrogance, the need behind the complaint. Everyone silently asks 3 questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? When your presence answers yes to those 3, you become influential. Example: someone says, "I hate my job." Most people give surface advice, find a new one. But if you listen deeper, you might hear they feel unappreciated, unseen, stuck, uncertain. So instead, you say, "It sounds like you don't feel valued, like you're ready for something that actually challenges you." That hits different, because now they feel understood. Once you understand someone's psychological language, you can communicate in a way that lands, not by changing your message, but by delivering it in the form they actually receive. Used ethically, this builds stronger relationships. Used selfishly, it becomes manipulation. So remember the rule: understand people to help, not to control. 6. Ambiguous morality. This is the controversial one, so listen carefully. Ambiguous morality does not mean having no morals. It does not mean doing evil to win. It does not mean harming people for advantage. It means you accept that reality is complex. Sometimes being nice enables harmful behavior. Sometimes truth hurts before it heals. Sometimes protecting the group requires making a decision that looks harsh. Not everything is black and white. The mistake most people make is choosing actions that look good instead of actions that work. So the question becomes not what makes me seem like a good person, but what creates the best long-term outcome within my ethical limits. Set boundaries for yourself. What lines will you never cross? What values are non-negotiable? What consequences are you willing to own? Inside those boundaries, be strategic, not emotional. Your goal isn't to be liked by everyone. Your goal is to be effective and responsible in a world that rarely gives simple choices. Controlled exposure. Oversharing is weakness disguised as honesty. Controlled exposure means you don't reveal everything, especially not early. Because once people know something, it can never be unknown again. Humans hate incomplete information. So when you leave gaps, their brain tries to fill them. That curiosity makes you memorable. In professional life, controlled exposure means you don't show every card immediately. You reveal value over time. You keep some capability in reserve so you can impact when it matters most. In social life, it means trust earns access. Not everyone deserves your full story. In negotiations, it means you don't announce all your priorities and limits from the start. Timing is power. Controlled exposure also includes your digital footprint. Every post becomes a permanent signal, and people will judge you before they meet you. The point isn't to be mysterious for entertainment. The point is to control your narrative and reduce vulnerability. Share enough to connect, never enough to be controlled. 8. Outcome obsession. This is the trait that separates talkers from finishers. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to get results. Most people want to be right more than they want to be effective. They want to look good more than they want progress. They want comfort more than they want achievement. Outcome obsession changes the questions you ask. Not how do I prove my point, but what result do I want from this situation? Sometimes the best outcome isn't winning the debate. Sometimes it's changing behavior. Sometimes it's protecting a relationship. Sometimes it's gathering information. Sometimes it's walking away. Outcome obsession also saves you from fake productivity, being busy without moving forward. It makes you selective. You focus on the few actions that produce the most results. And here's the key. Outcome-obsessed people are loyal to the goal, not the method. If a strategy fails, they adjust. They don't cling to pride. One warning: never chase outcomes so hard you sacrifice your values. Define success to include integrity, respect, and ethics. That's how outcome obsession becomes power without corruption. You've now learned the 8 traits of dark intelligence. But knowledge without practice is useless. Pick one trait that hit you the hardest, and for the next 7 days, train it in real life. Don't try to master everything at once. One trait, 1 week, real change. And remember the foundation. This power is for protection, not destruction. To defend yourself, not to hurt innocent people. To read the room, not to poison it. Because the purpose of dark intelligence isn't to become a manipulator. It's to become someone who cannot be manipulated. Not power over others, power over yourself. So tell me, which trait are you practicing first? If this changed how you think about power and psychology, hit like. If you want more content on strategy, human behavior, and mental strength, subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Which of these traits do you see in the most successful people around you, and which one do you need the most? Until next time, stay strategic, stay ethical, and stay powerful.